Hi, this is Judymay Murphy, and today we're going to be talking about getting feedback. Getting feedback, people telling you pretty much what's wrong with you. It's supposed to be a mixture of what's awesome about you and what's not so awesome about you, but we know that the stuff that we focus on is the stuff that isn't so good. We managed to filter out maybe 10 people tell us incredible things about ourselves, and one person says something about what doesn't work for them, and we take that as to mean that we're terrible and we should be destroyed, right? So how can we start to take control of this? How can we manage it? Because right now, my guess is that you're kind of managing it by not being around it. You're avoiding it, or you're people pleasing. You're trying to just, keep everybody happy and tiptoeing around so that they won't think to give you feedback. Well, first of all, what we've got to do is we've got to take charge of who is giving the feedback to us. Are they qualified? Because very often, if you have someone like a narcissistic auntie and she decides that she's going to tell you exactly how it is, how you should be living your life, you need to sort of say to yourself, well, I'm very different from my auntie. I'm not her. I was born into a different time. I'm doing a very different thing. And you know what? I don't like the way she speaks to me, and I'm not taking feedback from her. And the moment she starts to say, well, I think that you can just have a phrase that's ready and say something like, I'm sure it's very valuable what you think, just right now is not a good time for me to hear it. And then just go, just get yourself away from someone who's not qualified to give you feedback, particularly if they keep giving you feedback and you feel that they aren't qualified. Sometimes if you're in a job, you do have to sit there and listen, but at least decide in your mind that it's not necessary. And make sure you're making that decision from a good place. So if someone's giving you feedback about your body, is their body amazing? If someone's giving you feedback about the way you're doing finances, are they qualified because their finances are incredible? So that's the first thing, is you've got to qualify the person giving feedback. And if you decide they're not qualified, you've got to find a way to get away from them. And it is okay. A lot of us think that we've got to just sit and listen to anything everybody has to say about every part of what's wrong with us. Not true. That you have the right to draw an elegant boundary to sort of say something like, you know what, right now I don't want to hear this, or I don't want to hear this ever from you. So this is what we need to get really strong at. And the next part of feedback is this. Is it feedback or is it opinion? And often if you ask someone that question, they start to think, well, what is the difference between feedback and opinion? Well, for me, opinion is something that's very subjectively based. And it's very sort of the moment. It's kind of like, well, I think from where I'm standing right now, my belief is that I wouldn't do it that way because I feel blah, blah, blah. And feedback is more objective. Feedback is more, looking at all the different variables. My informed opinion is this. So very often what is masquerading as feedback is in fact just personal opinion. And simply asking someone that question will get them to look at the fact that you're boundaried. You're not going to just take on anything and everything, and that will cause them perhaps to be a little bit more thoughtful about what they're saying. But more importantly, it's just signaling to you that it might just be their personal opinion and it might not be valid for you at this time. The next part of feedback is you can train the people around you how you want to receive feedback. I've got some people on my team, some employees, who they want it just straight. They want it straight out of the barrel. They want it both barrels immediately. Because to them, that means that we're getting straight to the point, I'm being completely honest, and we can get it fixed faster and move on. And I have other employees and friends who they don't want it that way at all. And I don't like my feedback that way either. I feel very affronted and assaulted when someone just gives it to me in that way, just straight, no lead in, nothing fluffy around it. So I let people know, here's a great way to tell me something. First of all, tell me 3 things that are really great about me. It can be super fluffy. That's just the way I work. Even something like, Judymay, you know how much I love you, or Judymay, I think you're amazing, or that was a really interesting talk that you did just then. I need 3 of those. I need something like, I read in your last book, that was really helpful to me. Whatever it is, I need at least 3 of those, because I find feedback difficult just because of my history and the way that I'm built. If you're the same way, you can let people know that that's what you need. Then I need for the feedback to not go on and on. So I need to be told simply, as gently as possible. I'm going to be tough on myself anyway, so I need for you to tell me as gently as possible. So anyone that wants to write something in the comments below sort of saying, what the hell was she talking about? That's okay, yeah, you have the right to do that. just if you can find maybe a different way to language it, I'll hear you and we can start a dialogue rather than me feeling attacked and putting up a wall and us not having this connection anymore. And the last part then is let them know how you are going to finish it. So say to them, and then what I will say to you is that I will go away and think about this. A big reason that feedback feels so difficult for so many of us is because we believe that we've got to act on it immediately. We've got to know exactly what it is that we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to change this in this way. Whereas if we just say something like, all right, I've heard you, I'm going to go away and have a think about that and I'll get back to you. Or maybe just thank you for that, I appreciate it, and walk away. So we don't need to be super defensive. We don't need to agree or disagree in that moment with the feedback. We have a chance to withdraw, think about it. If it's particularly difficult feedback to hear, maybe even have a little cry about it, then recover and work out what it is that we want to do. And again, this is a really big part of us remembering that we're in charge of our lives. We're not kind of kids anymore surrounded by a whole load of grown-ups. And a lot of people feel that way. They feel that these big, successful, confident people are the grown-ups and they're the kids and that they're in trouble all the time. And we've got to really change that feeling so that you can really step into your power and stay there. The last part of feedback is this, that we've got to really imagine ourselves not as some kind of a done deal. This is something that Carol S. Dweck talks about beautifully in her book, Mindset. And if we're thinking about ourselves as some kind of done deal, some finished product that then has to go out and prove themselves in the world, we're going to be a lot more sensitive to feedback. However, if we see ourselves as a work in progress and that our job is to get it wrong and self-correct and grow and get it wrong again and maybe get it a little bit right and then wrong again, if we see that as part of the process and we don't take it personally that, oh my goodness, we're bad, we're being rejected, it's much, much easier for us to hear something that just feels like help. It feels like learning. It feels like growing. So let me just leave you with that for today. So anytime that you have someone who wants to tell you something, remember that you can draw great boundaries around it. You can decide how it is that you want to hear it, and then you can decide how it is that you want to react. So I'll talk to you again very soon, and until then, stay curious, stay loving, and stay in the game.